Welcome to Pandora's Box. Today, I have a tuna, cucumber, tomato, and mayonnaise sandwich on granary loaf.
That sounded like Rush.
That sounded like Rush, it did. That was Mystic Rhythms by Rush. You're listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio, baby. I'm your host as always, Mr. Calum Waite, or is my name in fact Obadiah Penny Whistle. In the studio with me, as always, we have Mr. Drusif Armstrong, whoop whoop, extraordinaire of many a field in his life.
Oh.
Today his name will be Flipper Wham.
Flipper wham wham.
Flipper wham
I've been
wham.
on those flipper whams
Been
again.
on those flipper whams too much, man.
Flip those whams, baby.
Can't get enough of those flipper whams. To the left of me, we have Mr. Nathaniel Warren, host of The Rap Radar.
Look how orange his jumper is today. That's amazing.
I like the sun.
He's like a little lumpa. Today, his name will be Baby Blues.
Baby blues, baby.
Baby
Baby blues.
Baby Blues.
Not baby,
Baby
blue,
blue.
it's baby blues.
Baby
Oh, yeah.
Blues. How's it going, fellas?
Good.
Yeah.
Absolutely blooming marvellous.
Been up to much
Yes.
other than just working away like the slave dogs you are?
Well, I was real busy yesterday, actually, putting Pandora's Box on Spotify.
So,
That's pretty cool.
So for
That's
anybody
on
that's
Spotify now.
listening on the radio, please do us a favour. Go on Spotify and follow us, Pandora's Box Podcast. And all of our individual episodes will be on there, and
exciting, man.
you'll be able to follow and listen to all of these episodes.
We are
So
big
cool.
time.
Talking about different stuff, talking about Phoenicians, talking about things like from Phoenicians to Brock Lesnar to the freaking creation of broccoli to crazy conspiracy theories to
All
alien
sorts.
stories, man, and everything in between. Everything in between. Science,
we
history,
are also
whatever.
declaring war. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah, on
We're
everyone else who's
declaring
called
war.
Pandora's Box on
Everyone else.
Spotify.
Yeah.
We are the true Pandora's Box.
It's crazy how
Show
many.
your allegiance.
Yeah, we didn't even realise, but there's loads of like podcasts and stuff that called Pandora's Box.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we were used to like being like having like quite an original name, but I suppose when you're dealing with like a global thing like Spotify, there's always going to be other people there that are almost like first to the pie, so to
So
speak.
we will
first to the
not
pie.
stop until we are the one.
Till we are at the top.
Until we are the chosen one. Let's face it. Old Baby Blues over here does look a little bit like Anakin Skywalker in the prequel, so he can be the chosen one. Drew can be Mace Windu,
Mace Windu who?
and I can be General Kenobi. I can be Obi-Wan. He's
You're more of like a Qui-Gon.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, Qui-Gon, but I'm dead.
Qui-Gon
dead,
gin
so
and tonic.
That sucks. Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, I suppose that's it. Qui-Gon gin and tonic.
He's had a few.
Yeah. Woohoo! Yeah, like Qui-Gon if he was a bit more wacky, but actually, he's not technically dead, is he? Because he was like the first one to like partially
First
learn.
Force Ghost.
Yeah, he didn't fully master
Right.
it like Kenobi and Yoda.
He like
Did.
taught him how to do it though, didn't he?
Yeah, he like managed to stay beyond in like it with his voice, but they managed to physically be able to manifest themselves, whereas he didn't have that because he was being taught. So this is a little bit randomly getting into some Star Wars.
Yeah, I
trivia,
wish I knew
let's say.
you were what you were talking about, to be
Man,
honest.
So,
I love Star Wars.
In Star Wars, obviously in the Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon Jinn is still alive. So basically, in like canon, before the events of his death, Qui-Gon Jinn in secret was being trained by these Force entities called the Wills, and they are the most powerful Force beings in like the universe. And they're not even like people or aliens, whatever. They're like pure manifestations of the Force. And
That's so cool.
he had to like go through all these trials of the Wills, and then as a result, they were like in the process of teaching him how to sort of like live on forever through the Force. Rather than just, I guess, like more typically just, die and then whatever happens after that, whether it's like afterlife or just nothing. But so he was like part of the way through his training when he got obviously killed by Darth Maul. And because he was always almost like a little bit of like he was a really decent man and he was like a noble Jedi Knight, but he was always considered like a little bit of a rogue. Like if Qui-Gon Jinn disagreed with the will of the Council, which was being run by like Yoda and Mace Windu, then Qui-Gon would just respectfully do it anyway, wouldn't he? He wouldn't be like under their... He wouldn't like listen to their orders necessarily. He would just respectfully disagree and be honest about it. He'd be like, no, this is what I think. The same way that he decided to choose train Anakin, even though they advised against it because they thought he was too old. So in secret, Qui-Gon was being trained, but he hadn't finished his training, which is why, for any of you that have seen The Empire Strikes Back, when Obi-Wan Kenobi manifests himself to Luke at the beginning on, say, the ice moon of Hoth, the ice planet of Hoth, or in Return of the Jedi, both Obi-Wan and then later on, just at the end of the movie, also Yoda, and then somehow
Mr.
as well,
Hayden Christensen.
yeah, and then somehow, although I don't even know how he would have even known how to do that, but anyway, they had completed their training because Qui-Gon Jinn went to Yoda after Qui-Gon Jinn's death, and he spoke to him. Even though he couldn't manifest his physical form, he could speak to people that were still alive. So he basically inside Yoda's head was like, Yoda, you need to go and go to this like part of space, and you'll find the wills, and you need to do the trials of the wills, and then as a result, you'll be able to like live on forever. And so Yoda did. And what better Jedi to complete the training than Yoda? Because Yoda is a Don, and then Yoda taught Obi-Wan, and then that's why Obi-Wan and Yoda could live like that. And that's also why, if you think about it, for you Star Wars fans out there, in the prequels, usually when a Jedi is killed, they just die like any other human would, or alien, whatever, just like a humanoid would, or like an animal would. Whereas when Obi-Wan and Yoda both pass away, their physical form disappears. You know, when like Obi-Wan says to Darth Vader on the first Death Star, he's like, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Yes. And then Vader strikes him, and he just disappears. And Vader doesn't know anything about this Force ability, so he's like stepping on the ropes, and he's like, where the hell is Obi-Wan gone? And then obviously when Luke's in Yoda's hut on Dagobah, and Yoda eventually passes away from old age at the age of like 900 or however old he is, he just like disappears, doesn't he? That's because they've like transcended into this like other like realm to the fifth dimension. Mate.
Obviously, they're becoming stronger now as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they become like more powerful.
That they can now interact.
Yeah,
Yoda uses Force lightning to, in what is it, The Last Jedi, where he burns down the tree.
Oh yeah. You have to bear with me because I've only watched the latest movies like once.
Right.
I wasn't like the biggest fan of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I like the last one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they could read a bit better. I think it was like because they were basically written on the fly. And I think you can really tell that there wasn't like a structure.
Not a lot of planning.
There wasn't like a solid structure to it, and as a result, I think there's lots of like potholes, and I think that things like seem a little bit rushed, and it almost like seems like they were making it up as they were going along, which is basically exactly what they were doing. That's why it seems like that.
So was that not based on the stories then, like in the books and things, or?
No, I
they
don't think
weren't.
so. No, they were just kind of a story they made up.
Yeah. So that's almost like a bit annoying in my mind.
Yeah, there's always an issue with that, isn't there? When it's
yeah, because there are some really good books that are follow-ons from the original trilogy, but nowadays they call it Star Wars Legends. Yeah. But there's like some epic storylines where like Luke goes to like these found like dark regions of space and like discovers these like dark Force users, and they're like super powerful, and Luke has to like basically go like Super Saiyan.
Yeah, they need to make that stuff.
I think it sounds better.
They were canon, but now they're not. So.
Yeah, I know. I find that a bit annoying personally because I think the storylines are better in that one.
It's got nothing on Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
I've been loving Book of Boba Fett.
Mandalorian and Book. I think I enjoy them both.
I don't know much about Star Wars, but I've been so enjoying them.
But I think that's a good thing about it. Like in a lot of things, you shouldn't have to. You should just be able to enjoy it. You should write it in a way that for the people that are the diehard fans that know every single thing about it,
it's got those bits in there.
But if you don't, you can still enjoy it just as much. It shouldn't be something that like
loving it.
I think it's almost like bad writing. If
you need to watch everything before.
Someone like you should be able to watch The Mandalorian and be like, I understand what's going on and this is freaking awesome.
Yeah, totally.
I can follow this storyline and it makes sense. It doesn't have to be all like, you have to know all about the freaking wills.
Sure. Yeah.
Even in Boba Fett, like the latest episode that is out is like a Mandalorian episode. So
best episode yet.
Yeah,
I watched it 3 times.
Did you?
You watched it 3 times?
I expect what I'm going to do is probably just like before the last episode, I'm probably just going to try try and like, rewatch the whole season again. You know, just almost like get me fully.
I love it where there's like shows that do that, where you can just watch them again. Like Witcher recently, I just watched all of that with like Meg, and I enjoyed it so much again. Like, I was just like, how am I enjoying this so much again? Like, you know. Mate, but when you think of like art, like really well made and well done art, it's art. You can enjoy art anytime. It's like music. You listen to the music again. So that's the kind of. But I always had this thing in my head before. It's like if I've seen a movie, I don't want to watch it again, or if I've seen a show, I don't want to watch it again. But like now, I'm like more appreciating it for the art it is, and it's like you
can pick up extra bits, can't you? On your second watch?
I think there's only so much the brain can take in at one time, and I especially think if you have a really well directed movie, the director's deliberately making it so like every scene. There's multiple things going on, and there's like things going on in the background that you're not going to notice if you're staring at the main person or something like that. And you know, your brain can only focus on one thing at once at a time. So then you watch it back again, and you're like, oh, I never noticed that thing was going on in the background. Or like I never realized, you know. And it's like you appreciate it in a whole different way. It's almost like, you know, you listen to a song, and your initial reaction of the song, it's like you're listening to it almost like you're taking it at face value. And then I feel like sometimes, especially if you're like listening through headphones, you can almost like listen to the song in a different way, which is almost like you're looking at it in depth then. And then you might notice like you might be there really paying attention just to like the bass line, or notice that a drummer's doing a certain thing, or notice that there's really quietly in the mix this like extra guitar part you haven't heard before, or this extra like or this little vocal harmony, and you're like, wow, I've never heard that before, and that's like amazing, and that's now added a new dimension of this song.
So when you first hear it, or even when you first hear it after a long while of hearing something, like if it's the first time in a while, it's almost like your body's like reacting to it, like you're just reaction to the
more viscerally,
viscerally, and then you play it again, and it's like then you're getting to know it more, and it's just like you're just 100%, kind of 100%. Enjoying it.
I was going to say, man, because you said a couple of weeks ago or whenever it was. Baby Blues.
Yes.
That you watched Fellowship of the Ring for the first time.
Yes, I did.
So have you watched Two Towers yet?
I watched Two Towers on Saturday.
Did you?
So good, man.
What did you think?
So good.
Tell us what you thought.
So good.
As veterans of the Lord of the Rings.
I reckon Did I prefer it? I reckon I preferred it.
I mean, they're both so good. It is like a toss of the coin sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I reckon I did prefer it. It was so good.
I just think the Battle of Helm's Deep at the end is like so epic.
Yeah,
like everything about it.
Yeah,
everything about it.
When I saw that for the first time in the cinema, I was like, "This is what I've been waiting for my whole life to see something like so epic." Like there hadn't seemed to have been a battle scene like that in any other movies or anything.
Never.
So it was just such a new, exciting, amazing thing to see.
And seeing like the deterioration of Frodo and everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
and obviously, like, spoiler alert, because we're talking about, you know, it's Two Towers. But at the same time,
20 years old now.
But I was going to say, at the same time, I think that came out in 2002. So if you haven't seen Two Towers yet, sort it out. You know, sort it out. Go watch it. Stop listening to this a minute. Go watch it, and then come back and listen to the rest of the show.
Yeah.
But I just think, like, you know, it's so like the desperation you feel when there's like only like 300 Rohirrim and there's like 10,000 Uruk-hai on the way, and then it's like really cool where like even though it's stout number, suddenly you just hear like, and then like that is what's that? It's like that is no Orkhorn, and then it's like Legolas like obviously recognises it's an elf horn, and then it's like da 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 da, and then all of a sudden all these like freaking epic looking elven warriors just come through, and then what's his name? Haldir is like, there once was a great alliance between elves and man. We are here to honor that allegiance. And then and then Aragorn's just like, and just gives them a hug, and you're like, yeah, boy! And then when the Uruk-hai first come, and the elves are just like, just like
mowing them down. Dude, I loved because I watched like a video when I was taking media in college about how they made the Foley and everything for Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. So I was sat there and I was watching like the intricacies of like how in depth they make the sound is crazy. So the chanting, for instance, was in a cricket game. I want to say maybe like Australia, India, and so pumped up.
So clever.
And like all the orcs chanting in the film was just like they put on the big screen like Elvish for them to chant, and everyone in the stadium chanted it, and they recorded it and put that in the movie.
Wow, that's amazing.
And like Treebeard. It's Treebeard, isn't it?
Yeah. The big ants.
His like movements and everything, like maybe like celery snapping and like
cool.
different movements like that, and it's just so.
That's one thing I'm actually really into. is like how you make sound effects.
Foley,
especially
I love it. I love watching
So
videos.
cool.
It's so cool.
Especially in like old movies and stuff you see like that, where it was all like practical stuff. It was like somebody just recording like jingling of keys or something just to get a certain effect, or just like hitting a certain object. That's like, could just be like an object in this room.
And it's so funny, like seeing people who've planned for like a shot as well. They'll just have all these like weird things in front of them, but they're looking so intently at like the screen, and then just being like having a balloon and some keys and stuff, and then just be like.
Yeah,
and then getting some some like wellies in a pool of water and just like
I love it.
And just like, it's like so cool.
I think for like it might have been The Hobbit when the dragons like fly in.
All right.
And I want to say they put like a cup on the end of a piece of string and were like whipping it round in a circle, and that was like like the wings flapping. So epic, man. So fun to do as well.
Yeah, I reckon that'd be real fun to do.
Yeah,
real fun.
And like when like, you're getting into like videography and stuff like that, like the actual sound is like so important for your video coming across epic. Like the more you put into the sound design, all of that stuff, like the more it's gonna have impact on people, because subconsciously, like we use our ears so much for things, like for just like how we interpret something, how we watch something. So they just go so hand in hand, like I think what you see and what you hear.
All of your senses are so intricately linked, aren't they? Anything like like all of them are. But I mean, obviously, when you're watching a film, you're relying solely on sight and ear.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't like smell what's going on. Imagine if you could. That's like next level, isn't it?
Smellavision.
You like go to like LOTR and it smells like, I can imagine it smell like perfume and moss.
Ah, that's so cool. See, this is the thing that I think what would be cool with like the way that like say like we talk about VR and all of that kind of stuff. If like it just reminds me of that thing you said about the water you could drink that would smell a certain way, so it'd make it taste a certain way. Like, almost like doing some kind of VR thing where just for entertainment, just for like movies and everything, but where you get some of the smell.
I imagine that Lothlorien would smell like flowers and like moss, and with like a light hint of like really nice women's perfume.
You've got such an active imagination anyway that it probably just does it when you're watching it.
I can imagine if you were like in like Edoras, which is like the capital of Rohan, where they are before they go to Helm's Deep. I can imagine that would like smell like a cross between like ale and like, have you ever been to like a stables, like a horse's stables?
Right,
the smell of a horse. It's quite a nice smell, but like a mixture between like an ale and like a horse smell. I can imagine
hate
like
that smell, man.
Do you?
No, I really like it.
You wouldn't be a good Rohirrim, but you would never be a Rohirrim anyway, though.
What I mean?
You would be an elf.
Yeah.
You'd be like a
I'll
young
take an elf. I thought you were gonna say a hobbit for a second.
Too tall for a hobbit.
Elf cool.
You'd either. I can't make my mind up whether you'd be an elf of Rivendell or Lothlorien, but probably more. I would say probably Lothlorien actually, because they are more like blue-eyed and blondie, whereas a lot of the ones in Rivendell are more like dark-haired, aren't they? Aren't they? The small changes. They're both considered high elves though, so I'm pretty sure that like Elrond is considered like a Noldorian elf, and I want to say I think Galadriel is as well. But even so, you can see that trend of how like they are more blonde in Lothlorien, can't you? And in Rivendell they seem to be more like dark hair. Mate, love it. Anyway, I think we just like quickly just mention a second that because we haven't today. Obviously, this was also, we mentioned that we've got we're on Spotify now, but we are obviously on YouTube as well. So if you are listening to the first time, please go on YouTube as well and subscribe to our channel. And also just a quick mention as well that we are sort of under the umbrella. Our parent company is Aspen Waite. So if Mr. Do you know, I've already forgotten what I called you today. But if you could show
like Flippy Flop,
Flammagam,
something like that.
So if you could show our little mug. So Aspen Waite does accounting, business advice, marketing, research and development.
Ooh, that's a bit dirty.
Obviously, we have a radio show as well, so we could do adverts on the radio, things like that. So if you're in need of any business advice, you need your accounts done, you want some marketing done, you want an advert on the radio, get in contact, go on Aspen Waite. Is it .com for our main website?
aspenwaite.co.uk.
aspenwaite.co.uk. Check out our services. If you need anything like that, then get in contact. We will sort you out.
Everyone needs a good accountant by their side.
That's right. And also it's just cool to have like an advert on the radio. So if you want an advert, you could work, you could talk with me and Drew. We would personalize that for you, make it for you, and it would be sent out on the airwaves. In-house, baby.
Yeah.
Nice. We can listen to a track now. This is Ghost's brand new single. This is Call Me Sunshine. I'm absolutely loving this. The hooks in this, baby. That was Call Me a Little Sunshine by Ghost. Love that song. So catchy, man. So bleeding catchy. I was watching on Justin Hawkins' YouTube channel, Justin Hawkins Rides Again. He was saying that he got sent Dance Macabre by Ghost like years ago, which is quite a famous Ghost song if you haven't heard it. And he said he wasn't really feeling it that much, and he said he was recently sent this one for his opinion, and he said it like completely changed his opinion on Ghost. And what I thought was really cool, he was saying that like, and he was saying it's like a theme amongst, like, seems to be like a theme amongst Scandinavian bands for whatever reason, as he was saying that they tend to be like very good musicians but always play within their means, and as a result everything, whether it's live or on the album, is always like very crisp, and it's always like a great performance. Like they're never like overdoing anything to the point where then if you're playing live it's suddenly like a bit sloppy or anything like that.
Just doing what they're doing epically good.
And serving the song.
Yeah.
Rather than taking it in turn to almost like solo, they're always serving the song. It's about, right, what serves the song and the story of the song, you know, rather than like almost like playing your little rhythm bit and then waiting for your chance to lead. You know what I mean? Which is I think what you see in some bands a bit, you know, a bit. Yeah. I'm not saying like loads or like it's, you know, but you do see an element of that a bit. Yeah, cool song. You're listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. I'm your host as always. I can't even remember what I called you.
Flopper Wop or
something. And Baby Blues over here. Yeah, I wanted to tell you guys about Agent Orange. Have you ever guys heard about Agent Orange?
I haven't.
So Agent Orange was...
He looks like Agent Orange today. In that,
yeah, yes. So Agent Orange is just Baby Blues over here.
It's just this guy over here.
Anyway, let's move on. So Agent Orange was a chemical used by the US military in the Vietnam War. Now, this is where like things get a little bit controversial, because you could go one of two ways with what I'm about to tell you. You could see that this was a genuine mistake, in which case you can just put it down to it was manufactured in a sloppy way, or you can see it as this was the US military's intention all along, under the false guise of it being a more innocent weapon. So basically what they thought, they said that Agent Orange was a chemical they were going to spray on the guerrilla fighters of Vietnam. Right, those aren't guerrilla fighters, and they're actually apes. I was in guerrilla forces, as in guerrilla warfare.
Guerrilla warfare.
Imagine that, it was just actually like a load of gorillas that Vietnam was trained to like fight the Americans.
And what is guerrilla warfare? It's like where it's
like
small
hit and run.
Bands or groups going around the jungle and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, so a good example of guerrilla warfare tactics, just to really quickly go off topic for a second, would be like how the Saxons ended up defeating the Vikings in Somerset. During the sort of the Dane invasion. So the Vikings had pretty much conquered all of England. They originally conquered the north. They were making their way down south. They kept conquering all the Saxon armies because it seemed like in one-on-one battles, like on plains, the Vikings would come out on top. But then what Alfred figured out was that if you use your knowledge of terrain, which, let's face it, if you live somewhere and grew up somewhere, your knowledge of the terrain is going to be far superior to any invading forces. So it's almost like using your terrain to your advantage. So at the time, the Somerset, especially around the Somerset levels, which was where Alfred sort of like held up against the Vikings, it was very like swampish at the time, and it was like it
was like an island really, like the Isle of Avon.
Well, Glastonbury was, like Glastonbury was. It was literally like there was like water surrounding it, so it like stuck out and almost like this natural defensive. But it was like very like watery and swampish, and there were like long reeds and everything. So just using their knowledge of the land, what they do is the Viking like forces would be like trudging their way through like the water and stuff and the reeds, and then like Saxon archers would just like sort of pop out, like sniping them with the archers, and then just disappear into the reeds. The Vikings would chase them, they'd disappear, then they would get like lost from like their main band, and then like a Saxon would like run up behind him, slit his throat, run off back into the reeds. Very efficient. So that's what guerrilla warfare was, and obviously the Vietnamese used it to great effect in the Vietnam War, because not many countries can go head to head with somewhere like America and come out on top. America have like really good weapons, they have massive forces. You know, America's a big country, there's a lot of Americans, and they have good equipment, and they have a very like structured government and things like that, you know, with a lot of funds being put into warfare. So not many countries can go head to head with America, but what the Vietnamese very smartly realised was if they used guerrilla tactics, that they could really, really give the Americans a great battle. And obviously the Vietnamese ended up actually winning the Vietnam War. What's so funny? Nothing. What are you even laughing at?
I don't even know.
I can see your like smirk, like finally it's like just slowly growing. You're like, yes. And go on, what's so funny?
I'm just excited, man. I'm enjoying the story.
Oh, right, you're excited.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what the Americans did to try and subdue the guerrilla warfare
machine guns
of the Vietnamese was they sprayed this chemical, Agent Orange, on essentially their crops. They thought that they would just like starve out the Vietnamese, so that they would just obviously their soldiers would be like weaker and lethargic, and you take away like a person's food, and you're going to suffer massively. Obviously, aren't you? But what happened as a side effect, quote unquote, of it, but it caused just flying American planes over Vietnam, just like spraying out this like chemical. Ended up causing like massive bad health effects to the Vietnamese population.
Yeah.
And it caused like loads of people in Vietnam caught like really bad cancer and had like tumours and growth and stuff.
And proper chemical warfare.
Yeah, literal chemical
and respiratory problems and that. They were literally just like spraying it down across like all the forests and jungles of Vietnam. And not only that, but if it was deliberate, then it's super callous, because obviously there was a lot of American military in those forests as well, and a lot of Americans as well also caught cancer and suffered massively. So whether it was a mistake or whether it was deliberate, that's pretty awful, isn't it, really?
So what was it supposed to do? Just
kill the crops.
Just kill the crops.
It was just supposed to just destroy their food supplies, basically, so that they would have like weaker forces and stuff like that, or maybe even draw some of the forces out into the open, if they were in search of alternative means of food, and then the Americans could intercept them. There were several different reasons,
savage,
but instead,
it was a mistake, a very costly one.
Literally caused like devastating health effects.
Yeah,
and apparently also for women that were like pregnant and stuff at the time,
babies.
They had like really bad birth defects. So loads of people died of cancer, and loads of babies were born like deformed and stuff. That's savage. Awful, isn't it?
Yeah, so savage.
So I didn't know about that until recently, but that's our history fact of the week.
History section.
Code Orange. So what do you guys think? Do you think that it was deliberate, or do you think it was a side effect?
I think it was deliberate.
I think
deliberate?
All right, you've got to know that that's not going to be good for people.
I think if it can kill a plant, then it can probably not do you very well either.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If it kills life,
if
it
kills
a living thing, then it can probably won't be so good to rub that in your hands and stuff.
Think,
Sure.
Let's face it. The best case scenario is that it's extremely sloppy. Like, are you telling me that they couldn't have tested a chemical to like make sure that it wasn't going to literally cause us something? Like if it was like cause like skin irritation for a couple of days, you could say like, oh, okay, well during times of war it would probably be worth it, but to cause like mass cancer and birth deformities,
isn't there like
savage, man?
Isn't there a set of rules that are like
there used to be
that about like kind of war and stuff where some
that's
things
what I thought. Like chemical warfare is against the rules.
I thought chemical warfare
it's one of those things.
There.
It's like there was actually a name for it. I actually can't remember what it's called off the top of my head now, but so back in war, say like in the Napoleonic era, you'd have like savage wars and people would be getting blown up by cannons and like shot with muskets, and like you'd be like ripped to shreds by swords and stuff like that. But if you surrendered, it was like regardless of what side you were on, you would like have to be treated with respect. And different leaders of armies would and I'm talking like within different countries. So say if you were like a British person in the Napoleonic era war, obviously if you were captured by say like a French colonel that had a reputation for being a nasty piece of work, he was going to obviously treat you worse than a French colonel that happened to be a really decent human being, and it also just happened to be a really good colonel in the French military. Then obviously it's not like there would be uniform across the board, but there would be like basic rules that you could not breach. So you would have to give your prisoner food, and you would have to like treat them with a certain level of respect. Do you know what I mean?
It's the Geneva Convention.
I thought it was. I thought it was. I thought it was Geneva Convention. I didn't want to say it just in case I was wrong.
I know there was one soldier who like was out by himself and like had to fight a guy, and then the guy it was all caught like on his mics and everything, and he like obviously injured the guy, and the guy was like, I surrender, and he just killed him anyway, and then he like had to go to jail. For
how long ago was this, man?
Oh man, I couldn't tell you. I just know we did like a case
was this like
study
Modern
about
Warfare?
Yeah,
like
like
the Iraq War or something like that.
We did a case study about it in Censorship, and it was modern. Yeah.
But talking about Modern Warfare, you just made me think. Somebody I know, obviously I can't say like who or anything like that, but somebody I know that used to be in the Royal Marines Commando in the British Army, said that like when they were in Afghanistan fighting the Taliban, they remember one day it was like, you know, one night they were all sort of like playing cards and drinkings and like their barracks that they had set up and stuff in Afghanistan, and the next day one of the regiments went out on patrol, and they didn't come back when they were supposed to, when they were scheduled to come in, and then a bit later on that day they were like Taliban, they could see Taliban through their binoculars. You know, I don't know how far away, let's just say like 200 feet away, and they were like in, you know, their little 4x4s with guns on the back, and they had like the heads of their like fellow soldiers, their friends, and they were like almost like mocking like the British military with like the heads of like their fallen comrades, and they were like waving it, and they were like taunting the British military and everything. And he said that obviously it was like proper like shocking and upsetting, but you know, you sort of get to an extent, you get used to it, but at the same time you're never gonna, you as a human being, you can't ever fully get used to that. There's always going to be that visceral shocking reaction of like seeing someone that the night before you were like having a chat with about their kids at home, and now you know that he was talking about how much they can't wait to get home to their like to their little son Billy or something, and now you know that daddy's never coming home, and not only that, but he's being his head's being paraded and like mocked and stuff like that in front of you. And he said that he looked over and one of his friends just called in air support, and then suddenly just slowly started hearing and then he just suddenly said through the binoculars you just see the Taliban starting to panic. They knew what was coming, and then suddenly just like RAF jets just come over and just bomb the hell out of them, and it's just like and then just looking like the smoke, the dust slowly clears, and there's just like rubble, like just bits of car and just like blood and body parts just everywhere. And I was just like, whoa.
The horrors of war, man. No one's a winner. No one's a winner.
Yeah, I remember you telling me as well, like somebody that you know, Drew, was saying that like they were sort of caught behind enemy lines once, and they were sort of like hiding under a drain or something. And they were literally Taliban like walking on the drain, and they were like underneath it or something, like being completely silent, and they knew that if they got caught they would have been like tortured and killed.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, they weren't doing anything. They weren't going to be shooting anyone or do anything. It was literally just stay here, be quiet, keep breathing, you know. And
like but don't breathe so loud that they're gonna fucking that they're gonna hear you. But yeah, man, I could just imagine being in that situation and be like so nerve-wracking.
Crazy.
You know, when you're like, because it's always when you know that you're not supposed to make any noise that it's hardest to be quiet, isn't it? You know what I mean? You start over-analysing your.
So whenever you play hide and seek, and instantly you can hear your breath like really loud, and you're like, oh man, I'm giving it away.
And then it almost like makes you almost like breathe harder, because then it's like you're almost trying to be like quieter, but then it's inhibiting your breath a little bit, so then you almost like get out of breath, so it's you want to breathe actually harder.
Yesterday I was watching Walking Dead,
and
it got to a scene where like they had to be like real quiet, and someone was like locked in the toilet, and she had to like be real quiet as the zombie was stood outside, and as I was watching the scene I was like, right, I'm gonna try and be as quiet as I can and see if I would have like survived this situation. So I'm like watching it like like trying to be as quiet as I can.
On the screen.
yeah, trying to be as quiet as I can. It's hard, man. The more you think about it, the harder it gets.
Yeah, I can imagine, man.
Yeah, just all of these situations, it's crazy what goes on out there. Like, I'm just so glad I've never experienced anything like that, like to that level where you have to be like that quiet, or like, you know, your kind of life depends on it, like kind of thing. Like, I can't even imagine it, you know. One thing
I know, I know you probably shouldn't like laugh at it, but I think it's like you know, you just can't not. It was like somebody else told me that a friend of theirs that was in the military, it was like their job at the time to be looking out for. They knew basically that this convoy of Taliban was going to be like making their way through a certain area at a certain time.
Right.
So it was like their job to look out for the convoy, and then when they saw them, call in their support to like just destroy the convoy. I don't know how important the convoy was, what this convoy's mission was. Obviously, if it was something like, if they ended up carrying out something really atrocious, like some really atrocious, like awful things, then obviously it's really bad that this guy missed this. But apparently the guy was like waiting for the convoy, looking through his binoculars for ages, waiting to call it in, and it was just like hours were going by and it like didn't happen. And then he just like noticed there was this like really nice little like looking owl that obviously wasn't an owl like native to Britain. So he was like, oh, that's a nice little owl, and he was just like following it, and then just like went and sat in a tree. So he was just like staring at the owl like through the tree, through his binoculars in the tree, and was just like, oh, that owl looks real pretty.
For ages as well.
Like, and then it suddenly heard like, oi! What are you doing? And then suddenly just like, looked over, and then like the convoy was just suddenly just like getting away, and it was like disappearing into the distance. And the convoy like coming past, and he like hadn't even realised because he's been staring at this owl in a tree. So the convoy just got away.
Nature,
but
man.
like as I said, they can't like not help but just like laugh at that story. Like what a pillock. So funny, man. Was Escape from Hellview by CKY. CKY obviously shot to fame back in the day. Mainly because they were used as like the music for Jackass, because the drummer, I believe his name's Jesse Margera, is the brother of Bam Margera.
Oh, Bam.
What are you laughing at now? Hey, what are you laughing at now? Young
a sip of water,
baby blues.
Baby blues.
He's laughing at me and my past transgressions. That's what he is. That's what
I used to like Bam Margera.
He's gone a bit cray now, isn't he?
Has he?
Yeah, he's gone a bit cray. Have you heard about that?
No.
Yeah, he wasn't allowed on, like, because you know there's just like a Jackass movie that's like just come out, isn't it? Is it just come out, or it's just coming
Jackass
out?
Forever or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
But Bam Margera was supposed to be in it, but he wasn't. I think like Jeff Tremaine and Johnny Knoxville, who were like the two sort of brains behind it back in the day, said that they wanted to be him to be in it, but he needed to go to like rehab, and they wanted to help him clean himself up because he's like, you know, got embroiled in some like drug issues and stuff like that, and like got in like a bad place in his life. And
I saw Johnny Knoxville was in the Royal Rumble the other day.
Was he?
Yeah.
I saw a video of Brock Lesnar body slamming Wee Man in a bar.
Oh, I did see that. I've seen that. Yeah, he puts him for a table, doesn't he?
Wee Man's like, slammy Brock, and then Brock's like, you sure? And then he's like, yeah, and then he's like, you can tell they've all been drinking and everything, because you can tell it's just this bar late at night, and there's like empty glasses and like pint glasses and stuff on the table. And Brock just picks up Wee Man and then just like slams him on the table, but obviously where it's like a solid just like restaurant like bar table, he just like bounces off it and goes on the floor, and it looks like savage. Obviously like Wee Man's like a wee man.
He's just a wee man.
And Brock Lesnar's such a beast, you just think like, oh my god, that's hilarious. But yeah, no, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it, about Bam? Apparently he got really angry that they even like said that they wanted him to go to rehab and stuff, and he got super defensive, and apparently he even got like a little bit threatening with Jeff Tremaine, and he had to get a restraining order on him.
Whoa.
It's real sad, really. Do you know what I mean? It's sad to think, I think, when you see almost like the downfall of someone like that, like hopefully he sorts himself out, you know?
Like Steve-O is like someone who's like really sorted himself out in the terms of that, because he would be like crazy with all the drugs and everything, wouldn't he? Like before.
I'm pretty sure that Bam and Steve-O even had like an interaction, I think, on like some sort of social media. I want to say like Twitter or something, and like Steve-O was like, Bam, look, nobody's attacking you, bro. He was like, I was in your shoes like a couple of years ago, and like Jeff and Joni and that like reached out to me, and they just told me some hard truths, and they sorted me out, and now I'm like, you know, drug free. I'm like doing really well in my life and everything. It's like they just want you to get to the same place that I am now. So we're like, stop playing the victim card and stop getting so angry with everyone, because no one's doing this because they have anything against you.
Just care about you, man.
Yeah, exactly. But I think at the time when you are in the sort of position,
everything's just so hard to see.
Your head's all warped by like alcohol and drugs and stuff. You take, you know what I mean? He's almost seeing that it's like an attack on him, which it's not.
It always warps things when there's alcohol and drugs involved. I think.
Yeah,
you know, you never see things. You think though that you see things 100% clearly. You've got all of the but you're never seeing clearly.
I think especially if you're like a successful man like Bam Margera, who's made like millions.
Yeah, then there's all
it's like
an
ego
pride
thing.
in the ego thing.
You know, he's like, who are you to tell me to sort my life out, sort of thing. You know, I'm a Bam Margera. It's like, man, relax. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, your ego's all warped from the fame mixed with all the drugs and everything. You know, but you know, let's hope he sorts himself out.
I've got a story that happened to me this weekend.
Right.
Oh man. So You know I go bowling.
Man.
You know I go bowling.
You don't go bowling.
I don't go bowling. So when I'm on the radio,
Who does?
When I'm on the radio, I'm Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
When I'm at home, I'm Nathaniel Warren. And when I'm bowling, I'm Gravy Dame, baby.
Gravy
Dame. So Gravy Dame is my alias. Whenever I go bowling, he's a
smug
character. I've got a
talking of jackass.
Yeah.
He's a smug jackass himself.
Yeah, that damn right.
Bowling ace.
That Gravy Dame's a menace.
Yeah, he is, man. A menace to society.
But I've got like a Space Jam bowling t-shirt that's like pink and white that I wear whenever I go bowling.
That's your jam whenever you go bowling.
And this weekend I was just bored. Like none of my friends wanted to do anything. My girlfriend's out in Centre Park, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna ask my parents if they want to go bowling.
Nice.
So we went bowling, and I was wearing my Space Jam t-shirt, everything like that. Man, I go bowling pretty frequently. Right, we go probably on average.
It's one of your things.
Yeah, once fortnightly. Probably.
Oh wow, cool.
But I normally do quite well. I'd like to say I'm getting better.
Right.
But I went, and the first game I came last to both my parents.
Really?
Man, and I was just sat there like, I don't believe it.
Look, I'm a
Where do you think Gravy Dame got
everything?
Where do you think Gravy Dame got his talent from, man? It's in the genes. It's in the
True.
genes, bro.
Yeah.
True.
If you're gonna lose to anyone, lose to your parents. That's not so bad. But then it's also very bad.
But I did feel like a bit of a. It's when I'm in my Space Jam t-shirt, or when Gravy Dame's in a Space Jam t-shirt, it's all fine and well and good when he's winning. But as soon as I'm, taking an L, I feel a bit goofy up there. So.
It just gets you up, mate. That's what happens. It's the pride, and, it's either the pride and the glory, or it's the fall and the pain. Anyway, this is Easier to Run Now by Linkin Park. Stick around, guys. We've got some more convos coming in the second hour. Cheers, y'all. That was In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3 by Coheed and Cambria. Love that track. Classic. You are listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. You might also be listening to us either on YouTube or Spotify. So whatever platform you listen to us on. Sup, y'all?
Sup.
Cheers for tuning in, guys.
Yo.
Keeping it real. So before Coheed and Cambria, we had Neverland, a fragment by the Sisters of Mercy. We are talking about a plethora of interesting stories. As always, today we talked a little bit about Agent Orange, which was where the US military sprayed a chemical over Vietnam during the Vietnam War,
Nice.
supposedly to destroy their crops and mean that the guerrilla warriors of Vietnam would sort of be drawn out into the open and be weaker and stuff. But as a side effect, quote unquote, a lot of the Vietnamese population and even American military themselves got cancer, and there were birth defects from pregnant women and stuff who inhaled the chemicals and stuff. So really awful stuff.
Nasty.
Really awful stuff. We've been talking about loads of other stuff as well. But I know you wanted to say something. Baby blues. Talk about somebody that lost their life savings.
Yeah. So I saw a video recently of a guy who bet. I've got up the details here. He bet $318,000 on a UFC fight, which it was Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. Yeah, Juliana Pena. And obviously Amanda Nunes was a huge favourite.
So Amanda Nunes, it was a massive upset. Amanda Nunes has been so dominant for years now. So Amanda Nunes, who did she beat to become champ? Was it Holly Holm?
Yeah, because Holly Holm beat Ronda.
Holly Holm beat Ronda, and then Miesha Tate beat Holly Holm. Oh no, so maybe it was... No, I think Amanda Nunes, I think she probably beat Miesha Tate.
Okay.
And I think since then, Amanda Nunes has been the top dog. No one's even came close. So she KO'd Chris Cyborg Santos, who was an absolute beast of a woman at in the women's division. She was traditionally a featherweight. I think was it in the featherweight division? No, bantamweight division where they ended up fighting anyway. Amanda Nunes was the bantamweight champion. Chris Cyborg Santos came in. A lot of people were thinking that she was going to lose, and then Amanda Nunes almost knocked her out straight away. And Cyborg Santos was a dominant female MMA fighter for years, champions in multiple organizations, and a lot of people thought she was the best female MMA fighter ever. And then Amanda Nunes just KO'd her round one.
Whoa.
She beat all the top dogs. Ronda Rousey came back. And a lot of people were is Ronda going to be able to reclaim her title? Amanda Nunes knocked out Ronda Rousey in round one.
So this is she just a new kind of fighter? Or?
Well, Amanda Nunes, her nickname's the Lioness, and she's just been she's just this amazing martial artist from Brazil, and she's just been like the top dog for years now.
Okay.
But then Juliana Pena was like had like worked her way up to a title shot, but nobody was like taking it seriously really. Like Juliana Pena, she's had some like pretty decent victories. I think she might have won the Ultimate Fighter years ago, which is like the sort of the tournament style, the tournament that's
like a reality.
Yeah, it's like a reality show where like fighters are picked that aren't in the UFC. Yeah, and they're put in a tournament, and then whoever ends up winning the tournament
gets shot in the UFC.
They're given a UFC contract, and they're also awarded the title of the Ultimate Fighter that year, and it's just it's cool or tough, as it's sort of like simplified as
pretty cool.
But although she's had some pretty decent wins,
it was still a shock.
Yeah, she's one of those people that she's got like a fair, like got some losses as well. Obviously no shame in that, but I don't think anybody was taking her seriously. So I could just imagine as soon as you like said that like this person had put in all their life savings, because I couldn't see why. Like I don't know like anybody really outside of
gave her a chance.
Other than maybe like obviously her personal like circle who obviously would have naturally like supported her. I don't think anyone realistically thought that Juliana Pena would win.
So do you reckon it was a bit of a fluke then? Like did she just catch her like real? Right,
I think that
she off her game.
There would have to be a rematch to say.
She submitted her, didn't she?
Yes. Yes. She also, but like she was lighting her up on the feet beforehand. She was lighting her up. Like she got some good punches in, and you could see it was like through Amanda Nunes. And the next thing she got a takedown, got on her back, and she got I think it was a rear naked choke.
I think so, yeah.
Or at least a modified rear naked choke. Maybe it was like on the chin rather than under the neck. But yeah, she choked. She basically got the back and choked her. But man, I cannot imagine what that person must have felt like when they put their life savings.
I assume it was.
They're well, yeah.
So they bet 318,000. The payout would have been 349,000. Not really worth it, is it?
No.
Considering that you lost all of it.
Man, that is
crazy.
They obviously just saw it as like a safe bet in their heads, but that is
there is no such thing as a safe bet.
No, there's always those flukes.
I've never really been a betting man.
I've
never really been, people who get really, I say good at gambling, but just like who are really into it.
I do think they could be.
Yeah, definitely. And even with the horses and all of that stuff, like I have just never ever been into it in a way that I've like kind of known how to do it properly. Even
my granddad to this day like bets on horses, and my dad, I grew up, he used to be like a betting man.
Some people can have a real problem with it though,
because it gets addicting. The idea that we could go with like a tenner in our wallets to like William Hill now and like potentially walk home later on in like a couple of hours with like £300 in your pocket, and you went in with 10. That's an addictive feeling, and especially if you win a couple of times.
Yeah,
man, I like betting.
It's a
I bet through like the Euros quite a lot, but we were betting like you get like free bets and stuff, and then we chuck on like £5 every day. Not much, but I suck at it, man. Like I never win.
Really,
like never.
There's been a couple of times where when I was younger, that I wished that I actually had bet a couple of times on MMA matches,
because you had a good feel for what was going to go down.
It's been like a time at the time, like I was like really into it, and I was like proper analysing everything. And there were times when I'd be like, that person's going to win the match, and people were like friends around me that would be like, no way, no way. A bit like the Amanda Nunes Juliana Pena thing, and I'd be like, yeah, I really do think they're going to win. For example, I remember it was like when for any of you MMA fans out there, when Shogun Rua became #1 contender against Lyoto Machida, and Lyoto Machida was the champ, I was telling everyone at the time, I was like, Shogun's gonna win. Shogun's gonna win. I was like, and they were like, no, he like lost to such and such, like Forrest Griffin when he came in and stuff, and I was like, yeah, but I knew, I'd like looked into it. I knew he had like knee surgery, and there were like several factors why he wasn't at his best in those matches, and even the ones that he'd won to become the #1 contender, they're like he was sort of like recovering from surgeries and stuff like that. And I knew that there was some other stuff in his life, which is why he wasn't the best. But if you wanted to see Prime Shogun, if you watched him before he came into the UFC, and he was in the biggest Japanese organization called Pride, and at the time he was just like savage, like he was just like a force, like was just like beating everyone, and I was like watching all like the clips and everything about, and how he was completely like healed from his surgeries, and how he was like as good, the best he'd ever been and stuff, and I also think that like styles make fights.
Oh, a million.
It's like what we were saying a little bit. I think we've talked about how like bands in the past, it's like chemistry or like ingredients in a meal, and it's like you add a certain, you add that guitarist and that drummer and that bassist and that singer, and that those styles somehow create this almost like dish, which is that band's sound, and then it's like it really works. But if you took in two members out and put them the different two members that had different sort of styles, then maybe it wouldn't work the same. But it's a bit like that with fighting and stuff. Like you could have a fighter that might on paper look better, but there might be something about this fighter that for some reason almost just like
a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, it's like they have their number.
I mean, look at Conor and Khabib.
Yeah,
Conor had no chance.
No, he didn't. No,
Khabib's a monster.
Khabib, it's like if you think about what are Conor's weaknesses? His weaknesses are cardio and the ground game. Well, what are Khabib's strengths? Cardio and ground game, and at the same time
taking people's energy away from him.
What's Conor's strengths? He's got a hell of a hard punch. Well, what's one of Khabib's strengths? He's been mocked, I think, minorly once. And when I say minorly, I mean minorly. Once I had a fight with a guy called Michael Johnson who like rocked him like a little bit, but it was like for a split second, and then Khabib like slammed him and was like just dominating him, just pummeling him.
At the same time though, Khabib was winning the stand-up game against Conor.
Well, there was only one knockdown in the fight, and it was Khabib. That's another good thing though as well. Like if you're against if you're a really good wrestler and against a striker,
they don't expect
the striker the whole time is so worried about you shooting on him for a takedown that opens up the punch. Sure. They're naturally starting to want to go like down here to like suddenly block your arms from like taking them down, and the next thing you know, a punch comes over the top and smacks you. So that's one of the good benefits about being such a good wrestler against like a striker. So it's almost like. Conor's top weapons are his punches. Well, if like Khabib had like a weak chin, you could see like, oh, okay, well maybe Khabib would have some success, but once Conor just lands like one
flush
half strength shot, then that's it. But like Khabib has the toughness to take some shots as he's coming in, and then he drag Conor down, just pummel him, just wear him down, and cardio's never been Conor's strength. So after a couple of rounds,
have you seen that video of Khabib when he was like a child?
Wrestling a bear.
Yeah.
Russia, man.
Like as like a young child. He's like wrestling a bear, and now he's like the UFC champ.
Russians are just a different breed of people, man, aren't they?
Crazy.
Yeah. I've seen like training videos of them as well. You see like the Europeans and the Americans and stuff, and obviously they're like training in gyms with like mats and like lifting weights for their strength and conditioning and on treadmills and stuff. And then I was watching clips of like the Dagestanis and the Russians and stuff, and they would run up a mountain, and then on the mountains they would just find massive rocks, and they would be like lifting the rocks overhead and stuff, and that was like their strength and conditioning.
Oh man, I've got a funny little story about like training and stuff. So Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's brother, was like supposed to fight Jake Paul recently. And he released like videos of their training and everything, and like their training just looked so stupid. Like it was like Tommy would just be on the ground, and they'd have like a heavy medicine ball, and he'd just be like slamming it on his abs, and then he ended up breaking his rib to cancel the fight.
Yeah, they definitely. Yeah,
it's not worth it.
The thing is, that is like a real technique. So the idea is obviously you can condition your body to anything. So the idea being is obviously like one of the worst things about boxing is getting punched in the stomach. Obviously, do you know what I mean? So it's the idea is that if you condition your body to take in that. Do you know what I mean? And like tensing in the right way and everything, and knowing how to handle that. Well, then in game day, if a boxer punches you in something, it's like, well, your body's used to it. So it's not like, it's like, oh yeah, I know, I'm used to that. But obviously, yeah, if you're taking
didn't work.
If you're taking it to the extent where you're accidentally breaking somebody's ribs, and then they're like, you can't fight anyway, then that's just really sloppy. I was a bit annoyed about that as well, because I wanted Tommy Fury to win against Jake Paul, so I was a bit annoyed.
Do you know, I've bet every Jake Paul fight that he'll win.
Have you?
Because he's actually like the people he's fighting. His team is smart enough to not book him against someone that he's.
That annoys me though.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be only booking yourself.
He's a villain.
You know you're gonna win.
He's a villain.
Yeah, he is a villain.
That's why I kind of like. Everyone hates him, and I do hate him. But at the same time, like I respect the fact that he's such.
Yeah, everyone does hate him.
He's such a villain.
He deserves it, though, man.
Really?
He is not. Yeah,
oh my god,
he is such a villain. He is such.
Have you seen the Dana White and Jake stuff?
Oh my god,
so funny, man.
Putting on like a bold cap and like putting loads like white powder under his nose to make it look like Dana White's like a massive got like a massive cocaine problem and stuff like that.
Yeah. He's actually quite funny. He's getting funnier. I've got to give it to him.
The only thing I don't like it when you cross that line from being like funny to like really disrespectful.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is what he does, and that's why I don't like him.
I like Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah, Paddy Pimblett. Yeah, he's a legend. Yeah. He's a legend. He just like loves where he's from. Like loves Liverpool and that. Everyone calls him the fifth Beatle. Yeah, mate, he's a legend. He's fighting, I think he's fighting like next month or something. Yeah, he's
Keep
a funny guy, man. Anyway, let's listen to a track now. This is Mayonnaise by the Smashing Pumpkins. Stick around, guys. When we come back, I want to touch on the updated Spotify controversy with Joe Rogan and everything that's been going on with Neil Young, etc. That was Be Quiet and Drive by Deftones. You're listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. I am host as always. This is Flabberdabber or whatever.
Flabberdabber.
This is Baby Blues.
Baby Blues.
Was it like Curly Whirly or something? No, was it? It was like Curly Wabba.
Flabber wobble or something.
Flabber wobble.
I'll have to listen to this back at some point and then I'll find out what it was.
Yeah, we need to stop the complex ones. We need
to I know.
Bring them back to one syllable again.
Yeah, I know. I do sometimes with my crazy outlandish names. Anyway, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the Joe Rogan controversy recently. We spoke about it a little bit a few weeks ago, didn't we? Because there was controversy at the time. You know, some people were already saying stuff about Joe Rogan controversies, about stuff that's been on his podcast and things like that. And I was saying about the hypocrisy of how, you know, like any one of us could just go and buy some like painkillers and stuff, which has like long-term effects on several internal organs.
Ivermectin.
But you can't have like but you couldn't have like ivermectin.
Ivermectin,
and it seems to have like disappeared from the shelves and stuff. But obviously recently there's been some big controversy in the media because Neil Young came out and said, like, released like an open letter to Spotify, and he said that basically Spotify had to like cancel Joe Rogan's show and like get rid of all of his episodes, or that he wanted all of his library to be taken off Spotify. And he like said in the open letter, it was like, it's Rogan or Young, you can't have both. And everything like that. And then obviously like Joe Rogan's got the biggest podcast in the world. Spotify bought the rights to have the exclusive rights to Joe Rogan's podcast for $100 million, which I think is like 75 million pounds.
Crazy.
So yeah, and he has like, you know, as I said, he is more listened to than any news media station anywhere in the world, more than any American one, more than any British one, like anything like that. So he's like so he is like a global phenomenon, isn't he? So Spotify were like, they released a statement just basically saying like, we respect your decision. We're going to release your music, you know, like take your music off Spotify, and we hope that you're back soon. Basically, like, we hope you change your mind. Do
you think that like there would be any pressure from Spotify to Joe Rogan with like, or because that is the big worrying thing. As soon as it goes on a bigger platform, even with YouTube, like once it gets beyond a certain level at YouTube, like with subscribers and stuff, like if that gets pulled, your platform gets pulled and your income gets pulled almost and stuff. So like Joe's put it on Spotify, another huge platform. Like would they have any say in his podcast stuff, or is it or would it be part of the?
I reckon it will be in the contract somewhere that he is like creative authority.
Yeah, I can't imagine Joe Rogan.
He totally needs to keep that because he is flying the flag of like of looking at both sides and like exploring truth, whatever that is, you know.
And as you said, we'll talk about this a bit more in depth in a minute because he released a statement, a video on his Instagram. I think it was just last night, but
I watched
it anyway. I watched it anyway. But one of the things I thought was like really sad since was you know, I'm a fan of Neil Young's music, you know. But like Joni Mitchell, who I'm a big fan of as well, I've played on the station on some of my other shows, like, you know, a fair amount. She came out and basically said that she wanted all of her music pulled as well once Spotify had like pulled Neil Young's, which I think is real sad, really, because I think the only people you're really hurting are your own fans.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it seemed to me the whole thing just seems a little bit like petty, the way that Neil Young like worded it. And I also think they're almost like the reason that Neil Young said that he wanted Joe Rogan's podcast taken down was because he said that Joe Rogan was spreading misinformation, and I just really take issue with that, to be honest. I think that like if you're having a discussion with somebody in an open forum, that's not spreading misinformation. That's just, as Joe Rogan put it himself, that's just having a discussion with different people, and different
exploring
people
both sides.
Yeah, different people have different opinions regardless of the topic. You know, it just happens that this obviously the COVID ones
you're
are
always going to rattle
touchy.
Someone's feathers.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea that I just think it's like really sad that a musician like Neil Young, who literally is like one of the hits he's most known for, is keep on rocking in the free world. Like that's one of those. And at the same time, he's like, keep on rocking in the free world unless you disagree with me, in which case you'd be cancelled. You know what I mean? it's like, well, that's not very free. Like freedom of ideas, freedom of exchange of ideas, you know, freedom of expression.
Very important.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't like this sort of. I feel like there's almost like this ongoing danger, and there has been for a few years now in the West.
Censorship.
Yes, there's this worry of over censoring. So you know, and this idea of like cancel culture, the woke mob and stuff. I just think it's like and I'm really glad that Spotify did. You know, like at the end of the day, if Joe Rogan didn't say, right, either keep the Joe Rogan podcast or take down Neil Young. Neil Young was the one that, you know, said, take Joe Rogan down or take me down. So they respectfully just took his stuff off. You know, you have to respect his wishes, you know. But I'm really glad that Spotify stuck to their guns and kept Joe on.
I wonder if any other artists will follow suit and stuff with it, or if that's it. You know, I haven't heard of any more. Like,
I've heard that maybe a couple of others are like threatening to.
Right.
But one of the things that I'm really glad about is, although there are, you know, supporters of Neil Young and Joni Mitchell with this, it seems like, to me at least, that the overwhelming support is for Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm pleased about, you know.
Well, Spotify lost like a big amount of their stock because of this whole fiasco, obviously, and just it's bad. It's bad image. It makes a bad image of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, Joni Mitchell and Neil Young combined have a massive fan base. They're two like pioneers of sort of like the folky rocky scene of America, and they have been ever since, like going back about like 50 years. You know, these guys are like seasoned veterans of the music scene, you know, and they've got like fans all over the world, You know, like think of like Neil Young's song like Harvest Moon. As I said, Keep On Rocking the World. These are like massive tracks.
Yeah, and like, people are generally loyal if they're a fan. You know?
And Joni Mitchell's like the most famous track. That one that's like, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone. I mean, that's probably her biggest hit, but like by no means my favourite song of hers personally, because she's got some really beautiful like more folky tracks that are really nice tracks. But you know, both like almost like cultural icons in America. Especially, but in like the whole world really. As I said, I just think it's a little bit sad from my point of view that like in the 70s they were almost like flying the flag for freedom. You can see them at like all these, you know, like different festivals, and stuff, like, you know, with the peace sign, you know, with like next to like Volkswagen vans with like freedom on the side or something. It's like, I almost like see the irony. It's almost like in their youth they were fighting for freedom, and as they've gotten older they've almost like become what they were fighting agast when they were younger. Do you know what I mean? When they were younger they were fighting against oppression and censoring of the media and this only one way of thinking, and somehow it's almost like they haven't realized it. They can't see the irony, but they've turned into that. You know, like, hopefully
that doesn't happen when you get old.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that I have heard, which I can in a way sort of understand a little bit, is apparently it just turns out that both Neil Young and Joni Mitchell had polio when they were little, and apparently it really screwed them up for like years. And obviously we've all had polio vaccines. You have like a polio vaccine, don't you, when you're like young and stuff, and
so they're just fully flying the flag for vaccines then.
But I think, you know, obviously I think, you know, a polio vaccine if you took a polio vaccine today, it's been, obviously by this point, it's been in circulation for so many decades, and it's been like fine-tuned.
Tried and tested.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, totally.
So it's like, no, I'm not anti-vaccine. I've had the first like 2. I'm not going to have any boosters or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, this is a very new
freedom of choice.
Yeah, this is like a very new type of vaccine. It was developed in a very rushed way. And we're still not going to know any potential side effects, like long-term ones, for a while now. You know,
did you see as well that they've reversed the mandate on NHS staff for the vaccine?
Have they?
Yeah,
I did see something about
that.
That's
I don't
really
know much
good.
about it, but I was like, whoa, because that was,
They've done a turnaround.
Yeah. And it was quite shocking, apparently, because apparently there was like over 80,000 NHS staff that was like, well, we're just not going to be working for the NHS then.
Yeah.
And they've had to reverse it.
Good.
And I thought, yeah, it is good. It's good.
Giving the choice back into the hands of the person, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, as I said, I think what's the line that you shouldn't cross, from my point of view, is like trying to make personal decisions for individuals. You know, you have sovereignty over what you do with your own body, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. And I know that people would be like, well, you are hurting other people because you could. But I mean, it's proven now that even with the vaccines, you can still catch it and spread it.
Yeah.
So you're not. So literally, it is solely your decision.
Oh, and that was another point that Joe was making in that thing he said on Instagram, saying that like a lot of the things that were said, and you would literally get pulled off Facebook. You'd get your social media cancelled. Like
now
taken.
We know as fact.
Yeah. Now, so it's just things change. You know?
So Joe Rogan released a really classy statement on his Instagram last night and said basically. He said he doesn't have any ill will against Neil Young or Joni Mitchell. And he also said, apologies to Spotify for any backlash or any negative this has caused them. And he said, when he has people on, he's not pushing an agenda. It's not his intention to spread misinformation about that. He's just having like people on and they're just having conversation. And I think it's important to mention as well that the people he has had on to talk about these things are I can't remember exactly what he said their qualifications were, but two of the podcasts that were considered two of the podcasts that were considered the most controversial ones, which almost like led to this whole thing with Neil Young and everything. The two doctors that he had on, or it might have been one was a doctor and one was a scientist, but they were like ridiculous credentials.
Yeah, very smart people.
One of them was like the most published like scientist in his field or something like that. And the other one, and I think the other one was even like one of the people that helped develop the Moderna vaccine.
Right.
So like ridiculously qualified and knowledgeable people about this subject. And somehow this is being like, so it's not like he's got like some quacks off the street. Like, let's face it, you're the biggest podcast in the world. Joe Rogan is a massive celebrity. He has like the cream of the crop in terms of people on. And he even said himself, like, maybe he can do things better. Maybe he could
have the one next that was like a different
balance it out by having after that deliberately getting in maybe like
someone who thinks the other way.
Like has similar credentials but with a different point of view. And he naturally does that anyway. I mean, I think anybody that watches Joe Rogan, he has right-wing politicians, he has left-wing politicians, he has vegans on, he has hunters on, like he has all sorts of people on. He hasn't got an agenda. He just has people on and he talks to them. That's all it is. He's just talking. He's not trying to push anything. He's just having a conversation.
I saw as
in a free forum.
Yeah.
So if people want to listen to that, they can. If you don't want to listen to it, you don't have to.
Totally. Jordan Peterson's got a new one on there as well, hasn't he?
Oh, yes.
4.5 hours.
Yeah, 4.5 hours.
I was like,
JP.
whoa, that's a long one. I listened to the start of it, but
I've listened to like the first half.
Yeah,
half an hour. Sorry, not half of the show. First half an hour. Yeah. No, it's good.
That's crazy.
Obviously,
man.
JP's always good.
What was the figure? The amount they lost? It was like
4 billion.
4 billion
in stocks. Yeah.
Crazy.
That's a hell of a lot. I mean,
stocks are very volatile anyway, so they'll go up and they'll go down.
I heard like a week or two ago that Bitcoin went down a bit, didn't it, as well? Did you hear about that?
There was a big.
I thought about you at the time.
To be honest though, that's been seen as coming for a long time. If you look at the things, like it's literally this time of year, every year it does happen.
Oh, okay.
And like you can look at the past however many years. So people are saying, if you're going to buy any, wait until it does drop, because it is definitely going to go up again.
Oh, 100%.
But like,
time to buy.
Yeah. So
that sounds like to me. Time to buy.
I wish I could, yeah.
Right, we're going to listen to another song now. This is My Song by Jerry Cantrell. Almost at the end of the show now, but not quite yet. Stick around, peeps.
Basically, there's a guy, I think it's on Instagram, who's called the Raw Meat Experiment.
Raw meat.
He's eating raw meat.
He's like,
Jesus.
I want to say he's like, I don't know how far he's in. He's in a long way, but he's eating like every type of raw meat, like sheep's liver, like cow brain, cow heart, all that kind of stuff.
And
he
none
just
of
eats
it
it raw.
cooked.
He's eating chicken raw, just like chicken breast.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah.
Well, and he didn't get ill.
No.
How?
This guy's every day. He looks like he looks more rough, but the whole challenge is to see how long he can survive.
How is he not ill from eating chicken breast?
See
it's
how
crazy.
long he can survive.
Yeah. He just goes into his shop. He literally just goes into his shop, like eats raw meat like outside the shop, and just posts it on Instagram.
Jeez Louise, man.
It's crazy.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Pretty scary dude. I'm just going to try and get up and see if I can actually find out how long he's been doing this for. So Raw Meat Experiment is his @ He's got 86,000 followers. He is on day 81. He just eats like, look at that. Munching on some random kind of...
Is that all he's eating as well?
Yeah, I think so.
That's literally like, he's just...
Well,
that's his diet.
I don't know.
Just
I don't know
raw
if he'd
meat.
say, but he's tucking into stuff. I want to find a bit of him eating chicken, but
that's just
terrifying, man. Terrifying.
Raw chicken.
Here it is. Oh no, that's raw lamb testicles. That's not chicken. Oh, actually no, that's what the whole thing was.
Just
the whole point was that he was really confused on why like all the other animals in the world can like just go and like eat raw meat and be fine, and we're like the one animal that can't. And he was like almost like, I don't believe it. So he's just been like eating raw meat to try and see like how long he can live.
Simplistic way of thinking of things.
Long as there's a record, there will always be friends. Yeah. That was Friendship by Tenacious D. Before that, My Song by Jerry Cantrell. We've come into the home stretch now. This is the last 10 minutes of Pandora's Box for today. It's a sad time.
Times.
I'm going to hit you guys with some quotes. Some philosophical, some just good quotes.
Exciting.
I know, I like doing this one. I like this one.
Gets you thinking.
Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. That was a good one. You know?
I like that one.
You know, I mean, if someone put past you in the street, you happen to be in a really bad mood, you got a scowl on your face, you know, that person instantly has put you as like a cranky person. You might be the nicest guy in the world. They just caught you at that moment, you know? Things like that to ponder on. The trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt. That's a quote from Bertrand Russell. That's a good quote, isn't it? I like this one from Jocko Willink, who was a former US Navy SEAL. This is super simple, but how can you argue with this? Faster, stronger, smarter, more humble, less ego. Jocko Willink. Classy guy, Jocko Willink, classy guy. He's good friends with Theo Von, Jordan Peterson, and Joe Rogan. That's all you need to know about a guy like Jocko Willink, isn't it? You know? Hard to win an argument with a smart person, but it's damn near impossible to win an argument with a stupid person.
I like
That's a great quote. That's a great quote, and so true as well. So true. So true. It is beautiful to be alone. To be alone does not mean to be lonely. It means the mind is not influenced and contaminated by your society. That's a nice one, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
I really like this one. I've sort of always naturally had this belief myself, and then I heard this. It's actually a Jordan Peterson quote. A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a dangerous man who has that under voluntary control. That also goes hand in hand with the awesome quote. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Do you know what I mean? So the idea is that you know, you develop yourself so that you are like a kick-ass force of nature in the food chain, but nobody ever knows it because you're just too busy being a kind, decent human being. But that if you needed to be, you could defend that way of life with force against people that would be destructive to that way of life. That would be trying to enforce tyranny and oppression, you know? Because you need to fight for what you believe in. You need to fight for the good in the world, you know? So I think that's great. I love this one as well. This also goes sort of hand in hand with it a little bit. What is better? To not be afraid at all, or to know that you can handle being afraid? Oh, I like that one. I like that one. That's a good one, isn't it? That's a good one. Things for you guys to stew on. For everyone out there to stew on. Nice. Those are my quotes of the week. Those are my quotes of the week.
I've got a question for you.
Hit me.
Ooh. Question time. This week, your question is, and I wanted to preface this before because I think it might be hard to come up with a thing, but whatever's on the top of your head, whatever's the first thing that comes to mind.
Right.
What's the one thing you'd like to do / experience before you die? If you had one like thing that you just got to choose something, like, I want to try that. What would you try?
Ride on the back of a flying whale. And they're just like flying over the Alps. While the Jurassic Park theme tune's playing.
The never-ending story.
Dun 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 dun.
The first thing that came to my head, it's not the best one, so it's annoying that it's the first thing that came to my head, was like go on like a proper like pilgrimage, like where you go on like this massive walk just across nature, but just like you know, on your own, and like
desert on a horse with no name. Felt exactly. Good to be out of the rain.
Yeah, there's like this. What's it called? The Camino de Santiago. Have you heard of that? Yeah,
see.
Yeah.
Sì, a Nathaniel lo potremmo. Yeah. Nice one, dude.
Nice.
Hopefully it ends with in the middle of the jungle with a huge ayahuasca ceremony.
Yeah. And an orgy.
So a long walk and a big whale.
Yeah. And mine would also be to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of the women. Yeah.
What about yours, man?
Your face, like, he was like so just like bemused, just like okay.
What would I like to do? See, this is even though I knew the question for the last hour, I haven't come up with a good answer. I don't know. Skydive.
It was your question.
Skydive.
It's your question.
You said first thing that comes to your head.
Mine's,
I don't know.
Mine's riding a flying whale.
Stupid question. I don't
Drew's
know
is to like have go on some massive pilgrimage and end it with an ayahuasca ceremony and an orgy. Albeit I was the one that recommended the last bit.
I'll take it.
Mine. And then you're like, I want to skydive.
I'd like to catch a Pokemon.
You want to develop a Pokeball and find an actual Pokemon and become like the real life Ash Ketchum.
Yeah.
I want to be the very best that no one ever was. To catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. A Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em, it's me and you. Oh no, I was We've come to the end of Pandora's Box anyway. Cheers for chilling with us, guys. Come back again next week. Subscribe on YouTube. Go follow us on Spotify. And stick around.